What's up, everybody? Okay, so I just sat down to do this video. I was gonna do a video about what scares you, like what scares you. And I thought, well, nothing really scares me except for maybe bees sometimes. And I sat down to do my video and I decided to do it on a different subject. But as soon as I sat down and went to turn the camera on, a yellow jacket flew up and I just jumped. I spilled my coffee all over. So yes, okay, bees scare me. I didn't really think of it as fear. It's not necessarily a fear, but more of a jumping. And I do the same thing. If I look down and there's a big ass spider on me, I'm out of there. And I know those are irrational fears. I remember I did a video about this a while back. Irrational fears, bees and spiders and stuff. And for some people, they might be afraid of, let's say, mice. Mice don't really creep me out. I used to raise mice, not raise them, but I had pet mice that ended up raising themselves, as anybody knows who's had rodents before. I also had rats. So rats don't really scare me either. For some reason, a spider or a bee does. It's just, it's really funny. I don't get scared by movies. I haven't seen a scary movie since I was a kid. I think since I was probably 10 years old and I watched American Werewolf in London. My parents went out for the night and left my brother and I home alone. And I think he was like 7 and I was 10. And we sat and watched American Werewolf in London. And yeah, that movie was pretty creepy. But I don't really get scared by movies as an adult. And I can't find anything that really just makes me go, whoa. But as for real life, it's pretty much the same way. I think this is why some people get the adrenaline junkie thing, where they go out and they do base jumping and hang gliding and stuff and try to get this rush, because it's a natural endorphin release that we get when we see something scary or have something intense happen. As you get older, climbing up bridges and stuff becomes less exciting and more like, oh god. The other day I remember I was standing over this cliff at the beach and I was looking over and I was like, get that feeling in your groin. At least guys do. I don't know if women get that or not. I've tried to ask women and they don't seem to know what I mean, but when a guy walks up to a cliff or something, or looks over or almost falls, you get this feeling. It's like the same on a roller coaster. You get this feeling in your groin, like right in your crotch. Just like, I'd almost say it's in your junk, but it's not. It's kind of the whole area. Just, it's like this fear. It's a rush, though. You could give it a lot of names, but I'm just going to leave that to your imagination. Pretty interesting that we as humans crave. It's an addiction, just like anything else. Adrenaline, excitement, fun. But fear is also in there, and fear is something that can give you a rush. And I think that people get addicted to that rush to the point where they use fear to not just have moments of fear, but create a fear-based lifestyle, where everything's constantly in anguish and their whole life is going to shit and the world's going to collapse. And I don't know, it's just each person has their own way of looking at the world, but I think that's a defeatist kind of attitude. I used to have that. I was just actually going through my old stuff and I pulled out my ham radio. I have a portable ham radio, a pretty nice one, a little portable with a headset and stuff that I can pick up. I could modify it if I needed to, add a longer antenna, I bought that back in my prepper days, when I was waiting for the shit to hit the fan, and I figured, well, at least if I have this, I'll be able to hear what's going on. People will be able to talk to me, And I realized that a lot of these purchases were the excitement of that fear. It's hard to explain, but yes, I'm prepared, but at the same time, you get kind of a rush off of going and buying dehydrated food, water purification device. You get excitement from getting these things like, haha, now I've got this, now I've got this. I think it really took me years of looking at myself and understanding myself to see myself this way when I do certain things, to be able to be honest with myself, I try to be fair. I know that, there are parts of myself that I see and parts of myself that I don't see. There are probably fears that I have that I don't even realize. But in general, I think that I was attached to that moment, that point in my life, because I thought, oh, well, if the shit hits the fan, it'll be exciting. but it wasn't based on fear. It wasn't that I was scared of it happening. It's that I wanted it to happen. I'm totally honest here. I was hoping that the end of the world would come, or let me rephrase that. I was hoping in my younger years, in my 20s, that the whole system would collapse in my lifetime. In fact, I was convinced of it. I'm not going to say I'm still not still convinced of it, because I am. The system will collapse, but what it'll be replaced by is really what the difference is. My view was that we had to wipe the slate completely clean in order to ever get past this crazy nonsense of the world. But looking back through history, I guess it was only through my study of history, understanding the Roman Empire, and the Greeks and how they operated, and the Egyptians and so many of these different cultures that had raised us up to be superpowers, the Ottoman Empire, and seeing what their downfalls were and realizing they made the same mistakes that we're making today. But it's not just new to today's world. The only difference is that we can attach to so many different fears. Like, pretty much, you go back to some cultures in simpler times and it was like, okay, fear of God, that's it. Maybe fear of robbers or thieves. Nowadays people are fearing the sky. They're fearing the soil. They're fearing what they eat, what they drink, what they breathe. Whether or not there's low frequency waves, mind controlling the population, Project HARP and chemtrails and space junk and atmospheric research programs and weather modification. God, the list just goes on and on and on. And it's not that I'm not aware of those things. It's just that, God, you got to take a step back sometimes. Take a breath and realize that that's an attachment to a fear. It's an attachment to uncertainty. And I know that some people are really trying to fight a cause. They want to see things change. They're not doing it for the fear. But I think if we look at ourselves honestly, I hate to say it, but most of the people that I've seen that tend to attach to all these ideas tend to attach to all of these ideas. In fact, what I mean is that there are very few people who believe in one conspiracy or fear that don't believe in many of them. And you can see this repeatedly in the people. In other words, you've got the chemtrail believers also showing videos of reptilians and shape-shifting people on TV and stuff. Not always. I'm not trying to generalize. It's not fair. But I see a massive amount of this, and some of the people who defend their points really vehement, just like, wow. Those are the ones that tend to flock to all these different harsh ideas. It's an addiction to fear and an addiction to rage, and you get a rush off of that. So, would I put myself next to a beehive just to get that rush? No, because I get stung. But when we put ourselves in a fear-based lifestyle, you don't realize you're getting stung all the time. Only you have to live with yourself. And I'll tell you this, there's the number one cause of death is stress, in one way or another. There is no natural death. People die of old age, but that's kind of a misnomer because it's usually an ailment that's brought upon by the degradation of our cells, the lack of ability to reproduce properly. And yeah. Yeah?
I'm still searching for that thing, for the thing to plug the balloon.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Anywhere?
I'll finish this later. Peace and out.